Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television or ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and on My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyMy, at mymytv.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free MyMyTV apps for your smartphone and smart TVs. All that information is on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find all of our programs on demand and find each individual interview as well. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics you may need to employ in your daily life for one reason or another, such as masking or social distancing, as well as more information on where you can get vaccinated, get your booster shots, get your second booster if you qualify, and more information. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we also feature articles from many journalistic outlets all throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across the state. Our top story today from the Detroit Free Press: Detroit City Council wants a statewide housing agency to speed up rent and applications. The city is urging the statewide housing authority responsible for administering millions of dollars in emergency rent aid to speed up the application process in Wayne County, where it can take approximately 90 days to get funds approved. Meanwhile, the State Housing Development Authority, or MSHDA, says it has hired staff to process Detroit applications and added another agency in Wayne County to help handle the volume. Wayne County accounts for about a third of the applications that have come into the state's COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program, according to MSHDA, which runs the program. Detroit accounts for 19% of all applications. The resolution from Council President Mary Sheffield was approved on Tuesday and says the volume of applications in Wayne County demonstrates the need for rent aid dollars necessary to keep people in their homes and avoid eviction. MSHDA Communications Director Katie Bach says the agency, quote, shares the sense of urgency reflected in the resolution. She continued on by saying, quote, MSHDA has communicated with our Detroit grantee, their sub-grantees, and the City of Detroit staff about the need for increased capacity within their process and system and process applications faster. We have dedicated program support specifically for Detroit grantees in an effort to expedite processing, Buck said in an email. MSHDA has provided $278.8 million in emergency rental assistance dollars in Detroit, she also said. Ted Phillips, who's the executive director of the Detroit-based United Community Housing Coalition, which handles applications where the tenant may be at risk of eviction, cautioned that thoroughness rather than speed is important when it comes to keeping people in their homes and getting aid. He said, quote, we need to be careful. We need to make sure we're dealing with court cases and making sure that the cases are resolved. We need to make sure that if people have repair issues, that we're trying to at least address those repair issues. We need to make sure if there's potential scams going on, things take time for a reason, end closed quote. Detroit is unique because of the sheer number of applications, the eviction cases that come through the court system, and the nature of housing concerns tenants have, he said. Quote, when you say Oakland County is processing cases faster, or in Ann Arbor, you could get it quicker, well, you're not dealing with the same volume, not dealing with the same problems, Phillips said. Wayne County continues to see the largest volume of applications in the state, according to a representative from CERA for Wayne County's Metropolitan Community Action Agency in a Tuesday statement where they said, quote, the agency is working each week to increase the number of applications approved, and closed quote, and is dealing with getting rid of duplications to get an accurate count. We appreciate council pushing to get CERA funding in the hands of more residents and landlords in Detroit. More than $132 million in rental assistance funds have been approved in 13 months since CERA has launched, and the number constitutes a high volume of work, said Julie Schneider, director of the City of Detroit's Housing and Revitalization Department, in a statement. She said the city is working with partners to accelerate the process. Here's what the numbers say. As of Tuesday, Wayne County is behind neighboring counties with the number of applications it had approved, 28,764 out of a total of 74,704 applications. That's about 39%, according to state data. Macomb County has approved about 44% of applications. Meanwhile, Oakland County had earmarked payments to just over half of its applicants. Both counties have a fraction of the total applications Wayne County is handling. The county has quote-unquote processed, meaning a person has either been accepted or denied, about 55% of total applications. In Wayne County, it can take approximately 90 days for applications to get approved. In other counties, it can take anywhere from 17 to 80 days. Across the state, 129,559 out of 237,469, or approximately 51% of applications for rental and utility assistance, were approved as of Tuesday of this week. So far, Michigan has processed about 76% of applications. About $683.5 million in rent and utilities assistance has been spent so far in Michigan. Wayne County alone has spent $219 million. That's out of roughly $1.1 billion in federal pandemic relief funds that the state has received. A household on average is getting about $5,670. More than 140,700 people have received the help. Meanwhile, more than 45,000 applications are quote-unquote still under review across the state, meaning a caseworker is looking into it or has not gotten to that specific application just yet. More than 26,000 applications in Wayne County are in that stage. Currently, there are 3 agencies in Wayne County working on rent aid, according to experts. In early 2022, the United Way for Southeastern Michigan joined to help speed things up. The CERA program, which has been running since last March, is expected to stop taking new applications in June, although applications will continue to process until funds are exhausted, according to Bach. Additionally, on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from the Detroit News, Oak Park High School is closed after a brawl between men who forced their way into the school and students occurred earlier on this morning. Oak Park is closed Wednesday after a fight broke out the day before between students and men who forced their way into the building, school district officials said. In a letter to parents posted on the district's Facebook page, officials said the incident happened just before 3 p.m. on Tuesday. They said 8 to 10 unidentified men pushed past high school security and staff, forcing their way in, then fighting with students and security staff. Officials said staff immediately acted to secure the students in the building. Police were called and the men fled from the school, according to the district. School officials said they have identified one of the men in the group, but are asking the public for help in finding the others involved. They also said no weapons were involved in the brawl, thankfully. The district said it believes that the fight may have been sparked by another fight that happened over the weekend and off school property. Meanwhile, officials said classes at the high school will be held virtually for the remainder of the week. Classes at the district's other schools, however, will remain in person. Lastly, making headlines on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from Bridge, Michigan. Zoom hearings could become permanent for some Michigan courts, even with all the hiccups that have already amounted and continue to amount. Michigan courts have held more than 5 million hours of hearings on Zoom since the COVID-19 pandemic began, and the virtual option may be here to stay, even if judges worry that maintaining order online isn't always so easy. The state Supreme Court is debating whether to make permanent what had been temporary rules for remote hearings, a pandemic-era shift facilitated by fortuitous May 2019 decisions to give a Zoom license to every judge in the state. The proposed administrative order would direct courts to use video conferencing, quote, to the greatest extent possible, and end quote, regardless of COVID-19, prompting a vigorous debate between supporters who contend Zoom has expanded access to justice and detractors who say judges need more discretion to prevent legal hearings from devolving into online shouting matches. Attorneys and judges across the state have weighed in, saying, and, quote, we've learned that going back isn't really an option, said State Court Administrator Tom Boyd to lawmakers Tuesday in the House Judiciary Committee. No one wants, quote, to return to a situation where we don't have remote proceedings, and closed quote, Boyd also said. So then the question is, what type of remote proceedings will we have? Judges and attorneys and other legal advocates seem to agree that it makes sense to continue using Zoom for lower level procedural hearings and some civil cases. But several have argued that video conferencing technology is inappropriate for evidentiary cases and other important pre-trial steps in criminal court. Quote, Zoom proceedings in criminal cases is bad policy, says Judge Kirsten Hartig of the 52nd District Court in Oakland County to the Supreme Court justices last month in a remote hearing of her own. Across the state, district court judges have complained about disruptive and disrespectful behavior during remote hearings, Hartig said. Attorneys, quote, completely unprepared to represent their clients, and closed quote, have logged on while driving, smoking cigarettes, jogging, and wearing swimsuits, she told justices. Defendants, litigants, and witnesses have urinated, slept, smoked marijuana, intentionally farted, and overdosed on drugs during remote hearings, she also said. Judges have also seen, quote, defendants on the record while getting their hair dyed, and closed quote, a defendant's, quote, camera pointed toward dog feces on the floor, and closed quote, pointing a computer camera at a toilet and, quote, wiping their bottom with toilet paper, Hartig said. Quote, the courtroom is a physical space that communicates the important jurisprudence that occurs there, Hartig said, describing the benefits of in-person hearings. Judge Hartig continued on saying, quote, it encourages court users to know and understand their responsibilities for proper conduct, and closed quote. Earlier in the pandemic, Michigan closed its courtrooms but opted against moving criminal jury trials online, limiting those to in-person only, says Boyd. The proposed rule has sparked heated debate, and two Supreme Court justices Richard Bernstein and David Viviano, have spoken out against it. The proposal has prompted more public comments that, quote, probably anything in the history of the court, in close quote, said Supreme Court spokesperson John Nevin to Bridge, Michigan. But finding a path forward on remote hearings for Michigan courts is something that Chief Justice McCormick, quote, thinks about and talks about all the time, Nevin said. It's a priority for her. And then there's the barriers to access. Since the pandemic began, more than 180 trial courts in Michigan have set up YouTube accounts to stream Zoom proceedings, and millions of viewers have tuned in, according to Boyd, the state court administrator and former Ingham County District Court judge. The Michigan Judiciary Committee on Tuesday took testimony on the proposed court rules, but did not make an official position during what Chair Graham Filler, a Republican from DeWitt, called, quote, an informational hearing to ensure the public knows what's going on, and closed quote. As the Supreme Court considers remote hearing rules, early feedback has made clear the general public has benefited from Zoom hearings because people no longer have to take a full day off of work, get daycare, and pay for parking to appear in court for what often are brief hearings, Boyd said. But Zoom hearings have challenged, quote, the dignity and decorum of the courtroom, he also acknowledged. Technology, quote, doesn't work every time, in close quote, and litigants may not always have access or capability to log into Zoom, Boyd also told lawmakers. So then another question comes up. What is good for the public? Under the proposed rule, a judge determining whether a remote court hearing is feasible would have to verify that participants are able to use the technology and ensure that all proceedings, quote, are consistent with a party's constitutional rights, and closed quote, allowing for confidential communication between defendants and their attorneys. The state is also trying to balance expanding access through video conferencing and the judicial discretion, quote, that's needed to make sure that we're setting the proper environment for those proceedings, and closed quote, Boyd told lawmakers on Tuesday. We must focus on who benefits, he said. From our perspective, it has to be the public. The system we adopt going forward must start and end with what's good for the public, in closed quote. Several judges opposed the proposed rule, however, because it creates a quote-unquote presumption that court hearings should be held remotely when at all possible. Quote, a trial's judge discretion must be preserved, 52nd District Court Judge Julie Nicholson of Oakland County told Supreme Court justices last month in a remote administrative hearing. She continued on by saying, quote, there are simply too many factors to roll into presumption given that this is not a one-size-fits-all solution, in closed quote. While remote hearings can increase access, the proposed presumption could be, quote, an inherent pressure for people who have been accused of crimes or convicted of crimes to agree to remote technology, even if they have a constitutional right to be present, says Jessica Zimbelman of the State Appellate Defender's Office. Told justices last month. She continued on by saying, quote, the presumption should be for in-person court given the importance of what is at stake, people's loss of liberty and other serious collateral consequences, and closed quote. Criminal defendants have a constitutional right to request in-person hearings, and defendants in civil cases should have the same right, says State Representative Steve Johnson, a Republican from Wayland, in an argument he made Tuesday in that legislative hearing. Remote hearings should only be held if, quote, all parties, and closed quote, agree to the format, Representative Johnson said. Quote, I don't want to get into a case where you're letting the judges make the call, where the judges say, quote, I don't feel like having these people in my courtroom. Sometimes that's just more problematic, and closed quote. All those headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as those links from the CDC, the NBHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division regarding COVID-19. We have a great program ahead on this Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up next, we'll be joined by singer-songwriter Michaela Proulx. And then at 10:40, a sad situation where your help is urgently needed. We'll speak to Jenna Pulley about her brother Joshua, who has been missing since April 3rd. That's all next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Joining us now on the program is Michaela Proulx, a local Oakland County singer-songwriter and a contestant in the Miss Oakland County competition as well. Michaela, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So first of all, obviously for those that are watching on the TV side and on the web side, the radio they can't see, you are wearing a crown.
I am.
Now, you're not just being extra.
No.
You've earned that crown. Tell us about that process. Where did you earn the crown, and how was that whole ordeal for you?
Yes, so I'm Miss Oakland County USA currently, and the state pageant for the Miss Michigan USA title is at the end of the month in May, which is super exciting. So I actually found out I won in Texas, which was insane. I was in Austin, Texas for the South by Southwest Festival, and because of COVID, the pageant went a little differently and a lot of things were virtual. So I got a call from the director in Austin, and they're like, hey, you won Miss Oakland County. So that was super exciting. So I came home and got a crown. The sash hasn't come in yet because of COVID and the delays in shipping and everything, but I'm wearing a crown and being extra, like Tyler said. But it is so exciting, and I advocate food allergy awareness and education. So what I do in the Miss USA competition is I personally have food allergies. I'm allergic to peanuts and tree nuts. And a lot of the labeling that is a part of the FDA isn't very user-friendly for people who have allergies. So if you ever look on a package, like a label, and it says like made in the same facility or made on the same equipment or may contain, those are all voluntary statements. And those are statements that people with allergies look for. And the fact that they're voluntary by companies is insane, because that is a life or death situation for somebody. So with my title, I'm advocating food allergy awareness and education to eventually change labeling on packaging to make the world a safer place for people with allergies. And I partnered up with the nonprofit Red Sneakers for Oakley, who's a national nonprofit based out of Florida. And they do a lot of fundraising, a lot of events to raise allergy awareness. So it's really nice to team up with them and advocate it.
And so when you do compete in May at the national level, you have one at the county level. Is it then, so before, actually I'll skip back a step, is there now a state competition, or do you go straight to the national level representing Oakland County, one of Michigan's 83 counties?
Yeah, so the pageant in May is the state. And then if you win that, then you go to nationals.
Okay. And so what sort of difference does that competition, from your knowledge, does that pageant have from the Oakland County's pageant? And how do you then prepare yourself for the statewide pageant versus the preparation that went into the Oakland County pageant?
So they're very the same. It's a lot of the same prep, same things. So the state pageant is definitely really sharpening your skills. It's sharpening your interview skills. It's sharpening your public speaking skills. It's sharpening what you advocate for. So it's really a way to figure out how you want to portray yourself. So at the local competition, obviously it's a smaller group of people. And then once you get to the state, it's everyone in the state of Michigan. So it's going from competing just with girls in Oakland County to girls in the entire state. So it's really just developing your confidence, developing your skills that can really push you to potentially go to the national level.
So you're also a musician, you're a singer-songwriter, and you're also now competing in pageants. Which one came first? And if it was music, what then drew you to pageantry?
So music definitely came first. I started performing from the age of 4, and I did musicals. I did a lot of acting. So I went to West Bloomfield schools growing up, and I actually, in my 8th grade year in Abbott Middle School, which I don't think is going to be Abbott Middle School anymore. I think they're closing that down, which makes me sad. But it's great that they're developing a new middle school. It's incredible. But I was Sharpay in High School Musical, which for the 8th grade show is really fun. But I've done a lot of other local pageants and musical theater growing up. So I was in the Miss America organization, and I still compete in the Miss America organization. And with that, you have a talent. So I've always sang, I've always written songs. And so I developed a new outlet to be able to sing and perform my music. I found out about pageants, and I was like, hey, people can hear my voice this way and hear my songs this way. Might as well do it. And it's helped me develop as a person too, being able to present myself and being able to speak to people, and definitely build up a stage presence when you go on stage, and you have to be your own person to compete.
We're joined by Michaela Proulx, singer-songwriter and also a pageant model, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is currently 2022 Miss Oakland County USA. The state competition will be happening in May. You're also a singer-songwriter and an award-nominated singer-songwriter at that as well. You were nominated in the 2022 Detroit Music Awards for a number of different categories, including Outstanding Country Artist, Outstanding Country Song, and Outstanding Songwriter. You mentioned that you began performing about 4 years old, and music was that first great interest in performance for you. How has that developed over time? I would imagine it began as something that was a bit of a curiosity, being that you were 4 years old and you're just garnering that interest. Where did it then become a passion for you?
When I was younger, I feel like music has always been a passion, just even from a young age. I always wanted to be in theater. I always wanted to be on the stage. I always wanted to be singing. We really started to realize that I had a talent. Well, my mom did when I was little, and we were in the grocery store, and you know those carts that have the cars on the front of them, and the little kids drive in the cars. So I was singing in one of those cars, and just in the grocery store. I was 4, I was young, and a lady comes around the aisle and looks at my mom and goes, "Is that her?" And my mom goes, "Yeah, that's her." She goes, "I'm a vocal coach." She goes, "If she's still singing like that when she's 8, you need to get her in vocal training, and you need to get her out there." So if she's still into it. And I was into it. I loved doing it growing up. I love songwriting. That was always something that I've always done. It's been really cathartic for me. It's it's a good outlet for me to express me and my emotions. So using that as a songwriter, it became a passion very, very quickly. And it's a lifestyle basically at this point.
And so now you are continuing to develop songs. You've written multiple songs in recent years. You've recorded these songs, and you've even collaborated with some music dynamos in the industry. You collaborated with Snoop Dogg's bass player and a Detroit music legend in T Money Green. Where did that relationship develop?
So, I host a show with him. It's called Hyped Up Live Sessions Next Generation. And what we do with that show is it's a series continuation off of his original show, Hyped Up Live Sessions. So the Next Generation is promoting local talent from the Metro Detroit area. We look for people kind of 29 and under, which is the new generation of music, to come on and show their talent and show their original music. If they're a band, singer, songwriter. So if any of you out there, if that's you or you know somebody out there, please feel free to contact me. And so I met him on a set for a music video, actually. Okay. And I went up to him and I go, "Hi, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a musician." My mom and I talked to him, gave him my flyer, and he goes, "I really like you. Let's make a show." Because I've always wanted to do something of developing young talent in Detroit, because growing up as a young talent here in Metro Detroit, the music industry is very hard, and it is very hard to get yourself heard, and it is very hard for you to even get out there. So especially having like somebody like Tony, for you to go on a show with his platform, with his connections and his people watching, and go on and perform, it's a huge outlet and a huge opportunity. And I'm so blessed for it, and I'm so glad that I can give back to the community, and he can as well, to develop young artists here. And
let's talk more about that, about developing those other artists too. I mean, you are just 19, so you are yourself a young artist in this industry as well. But you've had that support from Tony, from T Money Green, and you've had that support in the industry, and you've kind of seen a little bit of it firsthand that maybe some other musicians that are coming up that are of your age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, haven't seen. So for you, as both a musician and just as somebody that has gone through this process yourself, how does that play into your desire to do this show and to have that platform with Tony to support the next generation of musicians that are coming in with you and those that will be after you?
Yeah, so in the industry, so like I'm the only musician in my family, and so when you don't really have those music connections already, it is very hard when you are first starting out. And so growing up and in the music industry, it's very about getting yourself out there and being able to walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, I'm a singer-songwriter, want to listen to my things, or can you help me?" It's a big opportunity to be able to go and perform anywhere. If you are able to perform on a stage anywhere you are, take it, because that is the way for you to get heard. That's a way for you to build your stage presence. If you're scared, do it scared. I have to do it scared sometimes, depending on what it is. You know, everyone has nerves. Everyone gets nervous, and it's just a matter of being confident in yourself and knowing that you can do it, because it's possible for anybody. It's very discouraging sometimes when you see other people and you're like, "Man, I don't think I'll ever get there. I don't think I can ever do that." But the reality is anybody can do it if you just work hard enough and just try to get yourself out there as much as possible.
And I would imagine too, especially in an industry as competitive as music and as competitive in a broader sense as entertainment, that developing those strong connections with people that are already in the industry in a more advanced position, people like Tony, and other musicians that are working their way into the industry, is also very important in developing and honing your own craft, but also building your career.
100%. You have to be very sure of what you want, and obviously take pointers from other people. If someone suggests something, listen to it and develop what you want to develop. And if they have a good idea that you like, then add it into it. But sometimes people want to change what you want to do. Sometimes people want to make you into something that you necessarily don't want to be. And my advice personally is you will succeed if you are doing what you want to do versus what someone else tells you to do. If you are loving what you're doing, if you're passionate about what you're doing, and I believe that you should make music that you're proud of and that make music that makes you happy versus what someone else tells you will make people happy. So that's a big thing in the industry, is just being steadfast in who you are and what you want to create.
We're joined by Michaela Proulx, a singer-songwriter from the Oakland County area, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. If you'd like to learn more information, or if you yourself are a musician and would like to be on her program with Tony T. Money Green, Hyped Up Live Sessions Next Generation, the email to get in contact with them is hypeduplivesessionsnextgen@gmail.com. That's hypeduplivesessionsnextgen@gmail.com. And so, Michaela, let's dive more into your music. You have a lot of music that's already been out. You're working on a new EP called Yeehaw and several other new pop genre songs as well. You have a couple that have already been out or are coming out soon. Let's talk first about your song, Gone.
Yes. So I wrote that song, I don't know if some people may remember, about eight years ago, I think. There was a boating accident on Sylvan Lake with the Mansour family. Adriana Mansour, she graduated high school last year at WB 2021, and gosh, she's amazing. And so I'm very close with the Mansour family. Her mom's my godmom. Okay. And I wrote the song Gone about her losing her three kids. So two kids, Alex and Gabby, and then Adriana being in the hospital. So how I wrote that is she has a page on Instagram where she writes about kind of her grieving process and what comes to her mind. And I was reading through the page and I was like, man, this would be a really good song for her. I just really wanted to make something for her because I know that when you're going through a specific time, a lot of people go through music to try and find something that resonates with them to help them get through it and kind of put their words into another platform. And so I wrote that for her, and I played it to her for the first time, and she goes, "You don't know how long I've looked for a song that embodies everything I feel, and I have one now." And sadly, Gone has come into a lot of play with COVID and people losing family members, friends, relatives. I've sang it at a few funerals, which was very hard, but it's very nice to talk to the families and see how my song is helping them get through a time. It's kind of a magical thing hearing about how your music and your thoughts can impact somebody else in such a big way, which is mainly why I love to songwrite, because you help people with their emotions that sometimes people can't even put into words. So it's very giving, and it's very also receiving for me, because it makes me happy to see other people like my music.
We're joined by Michaela Proulx, a singer-songwriter and also 2022's Miss Oakland County USA, with a statewide competition for Miss Michigan USA coming up in May. Joining us on the Oakland County Megacast, and you have another song, Fake Friends, which we'll have you perform for us in just a moment here. Tell us about the song first, and then we will have your mom, who has your guitar back there, bring that up to you and have you perform for us.
Cool, yeah. So I wrote Fake Friends in high school, and it's about fake friends, believe it or not. But it's about, I think it resonates with a lot of people throughout every stage of their life, not only just high schoolers and young kids, because I believe everyone has come into contact with fake friends and people that you think are there for you and end up not being there for you. And a lot of the times when you start doing your career, like I've noticed with music, people that you thought would be there for you are not really there. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but at the same time, it's a really good life lesson. And I wrote Fake Friends to try and help people all through stages of life who do have fake friends, know that they're not alone and know that they can get through it, and all they need is really the love of themselves. So that song is a single. I have 4 singles out right now. So I've Gone, Prince, Fake Friends, and Mine. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, I'm releasing the EP Yeehaw, and that's going to be more country pop music. Okay. And I'm going to be releasing that towards the end of May. And then after that, like you said, I'm going to go more towards a pop genre, because I really like to broaden my sound. I don't really want to put myself in one lane. I think it's very cool to experiment with what you can do, and I enjoy all types of music. So since I enjoy all types of music, I want to make all types of music. And so I really want my music to resonate with all different types of people and whatever genres they listen to, as well as genres that I like to listen to. So the first EP I wanted to do is country pop, because that's what I always wanted to do growing up. My first thing, I always wanted it to be country pop. I listened to that growing up. And then now that I'm older and my songwriting has developed and me as an artist has developed, which my production and what ideas I have, that goes more in the more pop, dance, hyper pop realm. So I'm very excited for that and very excited for people to hear it.
So we'll have you go ahead and play Fake Friends for us so people can hear the song now. And again, I'll reset while Michaela gets herself ready over there. We're joined by Michaela Proulx. She is from the Oakland County area, West Bloomfield, Waterford, currently a White Lake resident. She is also the 2022 Miss Oakland County USA. That state competition, she'll be competing for Miss Michigan USA coming up in May. And so we'll keep up to date on that. She's also the co-host of Hyped Up Live Session Next Generation with Snoop Dogg's bass player and Detroit musical legend Tony T Money Green. You can learn more information, and if you're a musician or you know a musician that would be good for that show, or would like to talk to Michaela and talk to T Money, you can email them hypeduplivesessionsnextgen@gmail.com. That's hypeduplivesessionsnextgen@gmail.com. You can find Michaela and her music on YouTube, on Spotify, on YouTube Music, and on Pandora as well. And one of the songs you'll hear on all those different platforms is one of her singles, Fake Friends. Michaela.
Thank you. So this is Fake Friends. You can find it on all music streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and I'm so glad to play it for you today. So this is the acoustic stripped down version.
Michaela Proulx with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Michaela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Appreciate it. You can find Michaela's music in a number of different places. If you go to Instagram, it is at Michaela Proulx, MCKAYLAPROUX. Facebook, it is facebook.com/Michaela Proulx Music. And you can also find on her Instagram and on her Facebook page a Linktree link that will take you to all the information you need to know about other places you can find her on your favorite music platforms such as Spotify, Pandora, YouTube Music, and more.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. We'll learn about all of our partnering stations on TV, radio, and on the web, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. Joining us now is Jenna Pulley. She is the sister of Joshua Pooley, who has been missing since April 4th of 2022 when he went missing in West Bloomfield. He was last seen at the 7-Eleven on Haggerty and Richardson Road in West Bloomfield Township at 12:04 on April 4th. April 4th was the first anniversary of both Jenna and Joshua's brother's death. And Jenna Pulley joins us now on the Megacast to talk about her brother Joshua and where they are and looking for him, as he's, again, been missing since April 4th. Jenna, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for taking the time out and reach out to me through people told me to reach out to you guys, and I do appreciate it. Everything matters and everything counts, right? Because we're on dead ends right now, so...
Yeah, a lot of questions that you'd like answered, and the biggest of all those questions is, where is Joshua? And that's something that, as I would imagine, as scary and as worrisome as it is, you can't answer alone. And so we need the community's help to look for Joshua Poole. Again, he's been missing since April 3rd. Can you just bring us back to that day, or bring us back to the last time you had spoken with your brother before he'd gone missing on April 3rd and into April 4th?
So April 3rd, I had spoke to him on the phone. A lot of people get confused. The reason why he was on foot and missing is because Josh does not drive. He doesn't have a vehicle. He walks a lot. So April 3rd, he was walking to my mom's house, and I got footage from a mobile gas station on M59. And he had went there, and he went to go get a drink, whatnot, and then he walked to my mom's house. He spent about an hour with her, so we'd say between 7 and 8. 8 p.m. he started walking, and I'm about 30 minutes walking, or 45 minutes walking from my mom's house. So he had said to me around 8 p.m., I'm walking to your house. And I said, Josh, it's kind of late. I have work tomorrow. I said, what's going on? And he was like, nothing. He's like, I'm just taking a daily stroll, which was really odd. In the last month, probably around March 15th, going back, he was definitely different. Like, he was not Josh that I know of. My brother is a very strong person, strong-minded. He's a hard worker. He's not like weak of any sort. I don't call it being depression, I didn't think, because my brother would never feel that way, even though it was the same day as Derek, his death. It didn't trigger my mind to even believe anything that day. But he had said he was going to walk to my house. So when I said, okay, all right, well, it's kind of late. And then I said to him a few things, basically saying, like, let me just come pick you up, bring you back to the hotel. A lot of people don't know that he was staying at a hotel at this time that he went missing, which was on Grand River and Haggerty. The reason is, it is irrelevant, but he had just, his lease went up on his apartment. So he was looking for another apartment. So he was residing there to stay for a place for right now. So he always had a roof over his head. So, he did not want me for some reason to come find him. I don't know why. He decided not to come into my house because I said I was going to pick him up and bring him back to the hotel. He specifically said in the video footage at Mobile April 3rd that he didn't want to go back to the hotel. He wanted to stay at my mom's house, which is weird because why would he want to stay at his mother's when he had a hotel? That was very interesting to me. That something that didn't make sense looking into it. So that night he continued to walk to my father's. We have proof because he had actually contacted me around 12:30 a.m., which was going into April 4th. And he said, hey, I'm just taking a daily stroll. I'm at Bloomer Park where I grew up. It's a lake that we grew up as kids that we love. My dad lives literally right in front of the park. So I said to him, let me pick you up. It's cold out. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but April 4th, it did snow in that morning at 6 a.m. He was only wearing 2 sweaters, and he wouldn't let me for some reason. He goes, I'm a big boy. I have an Uber card. I will Uber myself home when I get cold. I just want to relax and take it all in. I didn't really look into it at that moment, but it was still a little strange. He would not let me come find him. So going into 12:30 a.m., he said, I'm going to charge my phone. He goes, and I'll call you back later. I got to save juice on my phone to call the Uber. So I said, okay. I laid my head back down, and I was still a little irritated. And then I reached back out to him at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I got nothing. So I went to bed. I wish I never did, but I did. I can't change time. And when I woke up in the morning, I called my father, and my father said that Josh reached out to him at 6 a.m., calling him, which my dad was sleeping. And he also texted him and said, I love you. Can you please bring me back to the hotel? That was at 6 a.m. So we were both sleeping. So by 7 a.m., we both contacted him, and his phone went to voicemail and never turned on till now, till today. It's never turned on. And it's interesting because we found a receipt outside my father's house, and it was a receipt from 7-Eleven. He bought a phone charger from 7-Eleven, and on there was 2 bags of chips and a drink, and he left the receipt in my dad's outlet. My dad has an outlet outside of his house where, like, you can put an extension cord in. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And so he went to go charge it, and probably to get juice on his phone. So that's why he was able to call my dad at 6 a.m. Why he didn't stay and wait for my dad to wake up, I can't answer that. I don't know. I do know that he probably wouldn't want to bother my dad in the midnight. He was probably waiting for him to wake up. My dad's an early riser at 7 a.m., 6 a.m. But that day, unfortunately, we didn't get back to him until 7 a.m. And we just knew something wasn't right intuitionally in my heart. I would never just go make a missing report the same day, but it was just random how he left clues. He left that receipt. And then his phone went to voicemail. It should have been charged if he went to go charge it at my dad's house. Where did he go from that point? Would he be walking back to the hotel on Haggerty Road? I had a big search on April 10th, and I spreaded people out. I had people that didn't even know me, which I'm so blessed for. I'm so thankful for. Half of them were people that didn't even know any of us. They wanted to be there to support, and I put them in different directions. I regret not putting the direction of Haggerty to Grand River, but if Josh was to be known or seen, he wouldn't be on a pathway or a walkway because he would have already been seen now. It's been, 3 weeks? So it's deeper than that. I hired a private investigator. We're working on that. I can't disclose certain things, but we're trying to get certain things coming through. The police, I don't want to say anything bad or good, but, sometimes they don't take this. They take this as, oh, it's an adult. He's missing, and they got other things to take care of. And I completely understand it. But in my heart, this is my family and I care. And I want to find him no matter what. And that's my mission. And I haven't stopped. I can't really sleep. I have psychics coming at me. I'm taking it all in for a grain of salt. But what really matters is, where did he go? Why did he disappear? Why did his phone go to voicemail if he charged his phone? And he knows my number by heart, my dad's. If anything ever happened, he would go up to a stranger and call us. He's never missed 34 years of his life not calling my father, especially. That was his hero. Me, I always yelled at him. I was the bigger sister. I was like the mom figure. So I'd always tell him what he's doing wrong and what he's doing right. But he always called my dad. And that's what's breaking our heart, because we know that there's something wrong. Something happened between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. from when he called, and then the fact that his phone went to voicemail. So if you have any questions, ask me.
So Jenna, if people do have some answers, if they believe that they have seen Joshua Pooley, if they believe...
There are so many.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are false. I would get random calls. People put my name on the flyer, and I kind of regretted that. And I would jump up and be like, oh, I seen someone limping, because they were looking for a limp, not a face. And when I would go there, it was a different person. It was like a guy who was a hippie, a guy who had long hair. It wasn't not my brother. People said they seen him at Speedway, a gas station attendant that worked there. She said, I'm 100% he was there April 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is also, days before he went missing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, that's a clue. It wasn't him. So all the tests we had, they were all false. We looked into everything we can possibly look in. There was lies that a church paid for him. We looked into that. That was false. I got all receipts, records. I have everything. There is no whereabouts. There's no new tips recently. No one's seen him. Nothing. Zero. People walking on the road. No one's seen him. Where did he go is the question. What happened? Where is my brother? And You know, it's been really hard for our family because it is the same day as our other brother who passed, which is hard because we were supposed to mourn for him and we couldn't mourn for my other brother because we're out looking for Josh, which we love too, you know, but it was just crazy that it happens coincidentally the same day. So that's where, you know, we felt maybe was there depression or, you know, I don't know. I'm lost of words because I've literally sent people, I've looked everywhere, you guys, and I just don't know where else to look. I'm missing that puzzle. I'm missing his phone records, his credit card transactions. We are working on that currently. That's going to take time. But the tips I get, there's nothing valid. There's no proof. There's no viewings of him at any footage. I knocked on doors, ring cameras. No one has zero, anything, nothing.
Joshua Pooley was last seen, of course, Jenna had mentioned a limp on his right leg. He was last seen wearing a blue hoodie, a red shirt, blue jeans, and a baseball cap. That was on April 3rd around the area of M59 and Airport Road in Waterford. And then he was also seen last at 12:04 a.m. on April 4th at the 7-Eleven located on Haggerty and Richardson Road. And so, Jenna, outside of obviously continuing to look for Joshua or any clues about where his whereabouts are at this time or where he had been along his journey from when he was last seen, outside of that, what else at this time can the community do to help you and to help your family in their search for your brother?
Well, we just do know what he was wearing at the time because we had the footage. The only reason why he had a limp, you guys, is because he sprained it a month before. He didn't have any mental issues with, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say mental. He didn't have, like, the issues like Bell palsy or
issues, yes.
Because a lot of people got confused by that. So it's just because he sprained his ankle. He did have a phone on him. It was a Samsung and a wallet, and he had a phone charger. I have not came across these things on the actual road, but I'm just asking if you guys can keep your eyes and ears open. Share my page on Facebook. You can add it. It's called Missing Josh. Jenna Lynn is my Facebook. You can find all the links on there. I was also on Fox 2 News. Surprisingly, we haven't got any tips. But just share my page, spread the awareness of everything. Keep looking. If you guys are on pathways, look deeper than the pathways. Don't look in just the pathways. Look inside the actual woods. Look by ponds. I don't know why I feel, but I feel like water. I don't know why, and I can't explain it, but I feel it's deeper than what it is because he would have been seen by now. He would have been. And people just don't disappear. The answer will always come up, but when will it come up? We don't know. But I just beg and I ask everyone to just look, keep your eyes open, pay attention. If you see someone, please call the police or please take a picture or whatever you can do to help. Just share my page and spread it so we can get it out to different communities to see where we can find any more valid tips. Maybe someone knows something and they're not telling us, but I find it very strange that, you know, he just vanished and there's no sighting of him.
Jenna, thank you for joining us and telling us about your brother and about where you're at in the search. We appreciate your time, and we wish you and your family luck and success in finding Josh.
We will. I'm very confident that it will come to light, and I pray every day that it will. So every day I get new answers. So I just got to crack the puzzle, and we're going to find him. With the community, without, we're going to find him. And I appreciate everyone that stepped in, and I appreciate you guys completely. I appreciate everyone that's tried to share and help me as much as they can. And a lot of people are working on this case that don't even know me. Like, their heart is like bleeding like our families because they keep saying, I can't even imagine what you're going through. So thank you again, you guys. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate you joining us. Again, you can call, if you have any information, please call the Waterford Police Department at 248-674-0351. We'll also link Jenna's Facebook page in search of her brother Joshua Pooley in the graphic at the bottom of our screen. We've done that throughout this interview. We'll continue to do that. We'll do that again right here as I once again read the Waterford Police Department's number, 248-674-0351. 248-674-0351. We're going to take a break on the Megacast, and on the other side, we'll have another interview and more programming coming up. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
The county.
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
We work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program on civiccentertv.com/megacast, we can also find information about our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. Joining us now is the president and CEO of Lighthouse of Michigan, a nonprofit focusing on creating equitable communities and addressing the issue of poverty in our communities as well. Ryan Hertz joins us now on the Megacast. Ryan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, as we get into this conversation, for those that aren't familiar with Lighthouse, what are some of the services that you provide in the community to help address the issues of equitable housing, but also poverty?
Sure thing. So Lighthouse is actually the result of a merger between two longstanding social service organizations in Oakland County, one called Lighthouse of Oakland County, the other called South Oakland Shelter. Both were founded to respond to emergency needs. Lighthouse originally to respond to hunger, and South Oakland Shelter to homelessness. And over several decades, both organizations developed a continuum of services ranging from emergency response, like emergency food and shelter, utility assistance, eviction prevention, all the way to affordable housing development, supportive housing, financial coaching, and other stability-focused services. So we really try to address the spectrum of need, both from the individual level as well as the community and systems level, to reduce economic disparities and help families who are really struggling in our community.
We're joined by Ryan Hertz, the president and CEO of Lighthouse of Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the website, lighthousemi.org. That's lighthousemi.org. Ryan, Lighthouse is now teaming up with Amazon to deliver meals also to families in Oakland County that may be in need of food assistance or maybe in need of meal delivery. Can you tell us about how that partnership began and the extent of that partnership also?
Sure. So we actually work with Amazon in a variety of ways. Amazon's been a really big part of our Adopt a Family program around the holidays, and has done all kinds of initiatives to support our mission in recent years. In this particular situation, during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, we found that there were a number of people that we were serving who were vulnerable, who we really wanted to be getting food to without them having to go out to shop, without them having to go around to different food pantries, many with very high-risk situations. And so we started a program to connect volunteers to opportunities to home deliver our emergency food boxes. And we've done that for over 2 years now. Serving thousands of families in Oakland County. Actually, I believe since the beginning of the pandemic, we've served around 60,000 households with our emergency food boxes throughout our community, right around 30,000 a year. And, Amazon has connected with us in so many ways, and we approached them about using some of their delivery drivers to help us get more food out to more folks. And they've been doing that, and it's been just a beautiful partnership, and we're really grateful.
So what's the response been so far from those that you serve through Lighthouse of Michigan to the delivery of these meal boxes with Amazon?
We actually have a partnership with a professor at Oakland University who conducted a survey of all the folks who receive our food assistance, both in terms of delivery and also through directly at our pantries and through some of our partner pantries who we provide these boxes to for distribution. And the delivery service is obviously hugely convenient for families that both because of the current conditions around the pandemic and some of our families being high risk, also because many of the families that we serve lack access to affordable transportation options to go and access food, or maybe they live in an area that's not close by to any pantries. So we've had a lot of really positive feedback from the people that we serve around the service. The challenge is just simply that it's very difficult to scale the service, right? It's an expensive thing to do if not totally volunteer driven. And we've been really blessed that our volunteer community has really stepped up around this. And we're trying to explore ways to scale this more and make it more sustainable. And our partnership with Amazon has been a big part of that.
So recently, the Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel's office, had a chance to tour your warehouse, Lighthouse Warehouse, being particularly in her office's determination to bring more attention to lawmakers in our state about the efforts that are being undertaken by nonprofits across the state of Michigan. Can you talk about that tour, what you have in the warehouse, and how that warehouse helps you to provide services to people all throughout Michigan with Lighthouse of Michigan?
Sure thing. So the Attorney General actually visited 2 of our service sites. We have quite a range of different programs at different locations. She came and visited our new family emergency shelter, which I can also speak to later, and then spent some time at our primary food distribution warehouse hub. And that site essentially is the result of our ramping up of food distribution work early on in the pandemic, initially partnered with Oakland University and a variety of other partners to distribute food out of Oakland University Student Center. And then when school came back in session in the fall of 2020, we moved to a warehouse space. It's a vacant big box store at Summer Place Mall that is about 40,000 square feet of open, high bay warehouse space. And we utilize that space to bring food in much larger quantities than we'd be able to do out of our headquarters building, which was our primary pantry previous to this. We're able to accept much larger amounts of food donations. We're able to bring in much larger groups of volunteers to sort through those donations in a safe and distanced environment. and we're able to stage the distribution of those sorted food boxes that we hope will provide a family with everything they need nutritionally, so that they don't have to go around to many different locations and try to piece things together. So it's been a wonderful program, and we're really grateful that the Attorney General came out to learn more about what we're doing on a variety of fronts. We hope to be able to continue to keep this work going.
I understand too, I have in my notes from our producer, the king of television, Larry Nyland, that you also had mattresses in some of those warehouses that were given to Ukrainian refugees. Have you been able to get those mattresses to these refugees, and if so, how helpful has it been to them in getting acclimated to Michigan in their refugee status, while of course we have the conflict going on, the war over in Ukraine?
Sure. So we double up use of that space. The primary use of that space, as I mentioned, is our emergency food distribution, but we double up use of that space because we have quite a bit of additional warehouse space co-located there for a variety of things. I'd say probably the second largest, in addition to food, would be furniture. Both for Ukrainian refugees, which is really through partnership. Others that were focused exclusively on the resettlement of Ukrainian refugees reached out to us. One of our primary values at Lighthouse is collaboration and making sure that whatever assets we have are put to the best and highest use of the community as necessary. So when partners reached out to us about that opportunity, we said, certainly not only are we willing to warehouse mattresses, but we're willing to access our partnership with Gardner White Furniture and other sources of furniture to help source it. We also have a pet food pantry located out of that location for lower income families who have pets that have a hard time at moments affording to feed their pets or have access to other supplies, and that's in partnership with the Humane Society. So we utilize that space with a variety of partners, and that's just one of them. And of course, in this moment, that's an extremely meaningful opportunity for us to support a need.
We're joined by Ryan Hertz, the president and CEO of Lighthouse of Michigan. More information on their website, lighthousemi.org. That's lighthousemi.org. And earlier on in the year, Ryan, Lighthouse received a significant food donation from the Mormon Church in Utah. Can you talk about how big of an impact that donation, being that it was a significant donation of food, has had on those that you serve here in Michigan?
Yeah, it was a massive donation. It was wonderful. It was unexpected. It was exactly the sort of thing that needs to happen for us to continue to meet the expanding need. Early on in the pandemic, when we started expanding, we used to serve, 300 to 500 households a week out of a pantry focused in the Pontiac area and a pantry in Clarkston focused on northern Oakland County. Throughout the pandemic, we've served right around 5,000 per week. And to get there, we ramped up a really big emergency response campaign early in the pandemic. We raised over $3 million, both for our emergency food expansion work, as well as to quadruple the capacity of our emergency shelter and relocate it to a motel. And we have spent through those resources. Those resources did carry us through quite a long time, and we were able to help far more people than we've ever been able to assist in the past. And we're now in a position where we're going day by day trying to bring the resources together. And when that truck came, it was, couldn't have been better timed in terms of allowing us to be able to continue to meet that need.
Ryan, if people in Michigan would like to help your organization at this time, what are some different ways that they can through either donations, and if so, what do you need in terms of those donations, but also volunteer opportunities with Lighthouse of Michigan?
Sure. So, of course, we need donations. We ask folks if they do want to support specific areas of our work to still do so financially, while we do appreciate in-kind donations of food and other things because of the amount that we're able to access at a lower price if we purchase it in bulk. It's better for us to purchase the food directly through our partner at Gleaners and through other partners, wholesale, your money goes further that way than if you go and purchase and then contribute food. That said, we of course accept in-kind donations. We always are in need of volunteers. If you visit our website, lighthousemi.org, there's a volunteer sign-up system that will clarify what the volunteer opportunities are on the horizon and allow you to sign up and find out more information. And we also have upcoming fundraising events that folks are very welcome to join us. We have our rent party event in Detroit at the old Stanley Kresge Mansion in East Boston, Edison, Arden Park neighborhood. We haven't had this event for a few years in person due to the pandemic. And this year we'll be having it in person, mostly outdoors, trying to accommodate everybody's needs in this complicated time. And so we would encourage folks to join us. You can visit therentparty.org to find out more. It's a big jazz concert and party outside in the neighborhood. So please feel free to join.
We're joined by Ryan Hertz. He is the president and CEO of Lighthouse of Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, lighthousemi.org. That's lighthousemi.org. And earlier, Ryan, you mentioned the family emergency shelter that your organization has as well. Can you tell us about that, and if people are in need of shelter in our communities, how they can get access to either the family emergency shelter or other shelter-related services provided by Lighthouse?
Sure. So we have a very limited number of emergency shelter beds for folks who are displaced from their homes in Oakland County. And at the beginning of the pandemic, the number of people calling us for assistance dramatically increased. And we realized that over the years, options for families had greatly diminished in Oakland County. We do have a domestic violence shelter, our partners at Haven, and we're grateful for that. But for families that are homeless, that don't necessarily qualify for those services, the only emergency shelter located in Oakland County that accepted families was the South Oakland Shelter, which was the shelter program that merged into Lighthouse. And that program serves both families and individuals based on first come, first serve. So for mid to large size families, the odds of having enough openings at any given time when a family calls are fairly small. And so what we realized during the pandemic, as the need dramatically increased, and as we partnered with Oakland schools and others and realized just how many people were going without their needs being met in that population, we decided to convert one of our transitional housing buildings from a longer term transitional housing program into a emergency shelter program. So we now have 18 apartment units specifically dedicated to emergency shelter for families. We also took that transitional housing program and we made it a transition in place program. So it still exists, it's just no longer at that site. Now we work with families in their own apartment as opposed to within our building in the community with the private landlord in the community where they want to live. And at the end of the 2-year transitional housing program, they can take over the lease and transition in place. So they don't have to move out at the end of the program. So it's really been a mutually beneficial thing for both of those programs. And we're just grateful to be able to meet that need in the community at this time.
Ryan, before we let you go, anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to keep in mind regarding your organization or other ways that they can help Lighthouse Michigan at this time?
Certainly. So, in early 2020, when the pandemic hit all of us, there was a response that I never could have imagined from our community, a recognition as everybody was struggling that there are folks who are struggling more than others. There are folks that everyone is struggling, and yet there are people in our community who have less resources to navigate this tough time. And I think that, as we have moved through this challenging period over the last couple of years, I think some folks have perhaps lost sight of the reality of how the past 2 years have impacted low to mid-income families in our community. And I would just ask folks to remember that, that impact is still with us. And to reach back out and re-engage with organizations like ours. We have so many folks who are so generous with their time and treasure and talent. and yet we have so much unmet need, and we really need everyone in this community, if we have a hope of achieving our mission, to be a part of that.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
More information on their website at lighthousemi.org. That's lighthousemi.org. We'll take a short break here on the Megacast. When we come back, how you can save a life even after yours has ended. Patrick Wells O'Brien from Gift of Life Michigan joins us next on the Michigan Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Our next guest is the Vice President of Communications and External Relations at Gift of Life Michigan, one of 295 shared Detroit-supported charities and counting, as well as nonprofits. Patrick Wells O'Brien joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Patrick, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, give us a little bit of an introduction to the background and the history of Gift of Life of Michigan. Who do you serve and what services do you provide?
Well, thank you. Gift of Life Michigan is our state's federally designated organ and tissue procurement organization. So what that basically means is that from the moment of a donor being able to have the potential to be an organ donor, to when the transplant center performs that transplant, Gift of Life Michigan is responsible for that entire recovery process. We also are responsible for maintaining the Michigan Organ Donor Registry, and we do that in partnership with the Michigan Secretary of State. So when you go in and you renew your driver's license, they ask you, would you like to have your name added to the Michigan Organ Donor Registry? And we hope everybody in Michigan says yes, because when you do, that really provides the life-saving opportunity to combat this list of 2,500 Michiganders waiting right now for a life-saving organ.
Well, people think about it too. They think about there's so many people in Michigan. They know that the organ donor registry can be done through the Secretary of State's office when you're renewing your license, or when you're updating your license, or anytime really. You can join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry, and so they may think, well, there's tons of people in Michigan. There's probably plenty of organ donors that are in the registry. But what exactly is the need in Michigan for organ donations at any given time?
Well, and that is it. The need is great. And those 2,500 Michiganders are a part of a list of more than 100,000 people across the United States who are right now waiting for that life-saving organ. One organ donor has the potential to save up to 8 lives: heart, lungs, kidneys, 2 lungs, intestine, liver, pancreas. Plus, one donor can improve the life of up to 75 others: eye and cornea, tendons, skin for burn victims. And people think that organ donation is something I'm too old, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. And we have recovered life-saving gifts from people in their 90s. So to that person on the waiting list, that person who's waiting for something, our own citizens in our own state, our own friends and neighbors, I'm sure all of your listeners know of someone who has at one point or another either benefited from an organ or a tissue transplant. And there is no, at this point in our, in our technology, there is no other way for people to survive unless someone is generous enough to just simply say yes. When we have donor families talk about how meaningful it is for their loved, the tragedy of death, and this provides this silver lining to say, my loved one can provide the legacy of life for someone else. I can't take my organs with me, and why not help someone else?
So I'm on the Organ Donor Registry here in the state of Michigan, and there are many others who also join me in the Michigan Organ Donor Registry who have done so through the Secretary of State when they've renewed their license or through another process in which they're able to join the Organ Donor Registry. But many don't know exactly what the process is of your organs actually being donated, because in some cases there is tragedy that strikes and somebody dies, and then their organs are donated maybe right there at the hospital. They're extracted and then put into the registry. But there are other cases as well where people die of natural causes, and then their organs are then gone into the registry. So how is that process then enacted? Someone's on the registry. What happens on the medical side of things when that person does pass away and their organs then go into the registry to be used to save those lives?
Sure. So when you're on the registry, what you're doing is you're allowing your wishes to be an organ donor. You're allowing it to be known, and that telling your family and friends is also a great way to make sure your wishes are known. And it's very rare for a death to result in the opportunity for organ donation. Because you have to be in a very specific set of circumstances for the recovery to occur. And most of the time, that means brain death. And 1-2% of deaths qualify. You have to be on a ventilator and you have to be declared brain dead in order for but you're dead, but your vitals are still, organs are still being sustained in order for donation to be possible. There is also a way with a cardiac death, and if our team is right there, then it's possible for the recovery of organs in those situations. With tissue, we have the potential for many more donors than in those circumstances. There's a longer period of time that we have the opportunity to recover those life-saving gifts.
We're joined by Patrick Wells O'Brien, the Vice President of Communications and External Relations at Gift of Life of Michigan, one of 295 Share Detroit supported charities and nonprofits here on the Michigan Megacast. More information by visiting sharedetroit.org and searching Gift of Life Michigan to learn how you can support the organization and how you can get more information on the Organ Donor Registry here in the state of Michigan. So what are some other things that people should know about the process of being on the registry and the process of organ donation? Because while it's an individual choice, ultimately that's going to be something that's going to be coordinated with the Michigan Organ Donor Registry as well as their family or their loved ones, whoever is there with them at the time of their death.
Yeah, so if you are on the registry, then we work with your family. We would work with the families to say we're going to go about the process of honoring the family's wish. And we also work with donor families after a gift occurs to help them understand what happened with their loved one's gifts. Is there a heart recipient whose life was saved? Were their lungs or liver? And in some instances, those family members are interested in learning and meeting the recipient. And we have very moving videos on our YouTube channel and on our website. And if you follow us on social media, these heartwarming stories. We just had a story of Lauren, who was a heart recipient, and she just met her donor mom this past couple of months ago, and we were able to record that meeting. And it was so touching to see the mom put the stethoscope up to Lauren's chest to hear her daughter's heartbeat again, and to know that her daughter saved another person's life because of her wish to be an organ donor. And she said yes, and put her name on the registry. And every single Michigander can do that. But only 58% of Michigan adults have done what you've done, Tyler, done what I've done, and said yes to being on the registry. And other states do better. Other states are in 70% of their population, even greater, who are on the registry. And that's been our biggest challenge. If we're going to save lives and more lives in Michigan, we need more people to just simply say yes. It doesn't mean that anything is going to happen right now. Some people have misconceptions about what that means, that the medical emergency staff isn't going to work as hard to save me, or this is very different than being a living kidney donor. This happens in the rare instances of very particular circumstances of an unavoidable death. And in that circumstance, I would want to know that I could be saving someone else's life. And that's the message we want to get out there. All major religious denominations support organ and tissue donation and see it as the charitable thing to do to support your fellow human in having the opportunity to have life through something that we can each do and add our name to that registry.
More information on their website, giftoflifemichigan.org. That's giftoflifemichigan.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org as well. We're joined by Patrick Wells O'Brien, the Vice President of Communications and External Relations with Gift of Life Michigan, with us on the Michigan Megacast. So can you talk about the Let's Talk initiative? What is that initiative? What is the goal of that out in the community to raise awareness through Gift of Life Michigan?
That's right. So we have an outreach to multicultural community, to the public at large, to educate people about organ and tissue donation and talk about people's questions, talk about the people who talk with people who have benefited from organ and tissue donation and transplantation. And so we have a series called Let's Talk. It's live streamed on Facebook, and then it's available on our YouTube channel to watch later, or on our website. And some of the different programs have included the organ donation process, or talking with recipients. We've talked about how you can get more involved in Gift of Life Michigan. It's a designated great place to work, and it's been a wonderful thing to get to know the people who do this every day, and some of the interesting stories that they have about what they've gone through in order to save someone else's life. So there's stories like that on there. And also we talk with religious leaders, and we debunk myths, and we also talk about our legislative advocacy.
So we have about a minute or two left with you before we say goodbye, Patrick. Can you tell us just a little bit about the Gift of Life's legislative advocacy, and what are some things that you are advocating, your organization's advocating for in the legislative front at this time?
So we just had a successful piece of legislation come through with Representative Felicia Brayback, sponsored a bipartisan bill, and it passed both houses of the Michigan legislature. That doesn't happen very often, and was signed into law by the governor to enable HIV positive organ donors to give to HIV positive recipients. And what that allows is, prior to this, it was not allowable in the state of Michigan for that to happen. And it's part of a federal effort and a federal act, and for Michigan law to become compliant with that, we were able to get that passed. Prior to this, we would recover HIV positive organs, and we would have to send those organs out of the state of Michigan. And so everybody saw that this was a very necessary thing. Even though the numbers are small for this, it's very meaningful, especially if you're a person on the waiting list. And people talk about the waiting list, and it's a waiting list, but there are so many factors that go into having you become matched for an organ donor, that if someone who is HIV positive is able to receive some gift from someone who is HIV positive, it makes room for other people on the list who are waiting. But none of this happens if people don't sign up and register.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Joining us now is the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, where he is also serving as a professor of political science. Dave Duglio joins us once again on the Megacast. Dave, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure, Tyler. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So just recently we had the county conventions and then the statewide convention for nominees for the Republican Party for governor here in the state of Michigan, other positions as well, such as Secretary of State, Attorney General, and more. And it's very similar, that statewide convention, very similar to what we would see on the national stage around the presidential elections, but there are specific differences, and there is a certain process that's undergone in each party in the state of Michigan. So can you give us a review of the process that the Republicans went through to choose their preferred candidates, particularly for Attorney General and Secretary of State, but also to discuss their primary candidates for the gubernatorial election?
Sure. Michigan has what we can maybe say is a unique system of selecting candidates for statewide office. And the first point I would make is that some candidates are chosen by primary and other candidates are chosen by convention. And when we're talking about a year like 2022, when we have a gubernatorial race, Secretary of State race, Attorney General race, Supreme Court offices, regents for U of M, MSU, and Wayne State, we've got candidates like Attorney General, Secretary of State, Supreme Court, and those regents or Board of Governors, whatever they're called at those different institutions, those are chosen at convention. And the gubernatorial candidate, as well as other offices, U.S. House of Representatives, State House, State Senate, will be chosen in August during a primary election. I would say another thing about two more points about the process that makes it unique. One is the state convention that was held last weekend on the Republican side was technically not the nominating convention. It was an endorsement convention. There will be another meeting later in the summer that formal nominations of these folks will be made and adopted. The other point, the last point I would make, and it gets us a bit of far afield here, but it's worth noting, we will elect Supreme Court justices in Michigan. We have for years and years and years. Those offices on the ballot in November are nonpartisan, but candidates only get on the ballot through a partisan process. Republicans will nominate folks to be on the ballot for Supreme Court, and they did, and Democrats will do the same. So it is a hodgepodge of maybe ways of candidates getting on the general election ballot here in Michigan.
And we've seen such contentiousness between these two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, at the state level especially, going into this election, but that's kind of just a microcosm of the national contention that is between these two parties, especially in the wake of the 2020 election, where the Republican Party questions the validity of that election, which is entirely unfounded and has been investigated 11,000 different ways, left, right, upwards, backwards, upside down, and every other direction you can think of. And then the Democratic Party continues to, of course, go after Donald Trump and go after those that are in his camp, which is now dominating the Republican Party. We look at the endorsement conventions from this past weekend, and Trump-backed candidates were pretty resoundingly nominated for or endorsed for these positions. You look at close races, and you look at races in the Attorney General and Secretary of State's positions, particularly Attorney General Matthew DePerno, who won 54% of the party vote on Saturday. He has been very outspoken about his opposition to the results of the 2020 election and his belief. He's filed lawsuits in the past in results to that. And so it brings me to think about these elections. And again, the cliche comes up, the most important election of our lifetime, and it is so, because every election has implications for the next one. At this moment in time, how crucial in the Republican Party do they see this upcoming election in the state of Michigan for these critical positions, especially governor, attorney general, secretary of state, and even down the line in the Supreme Court, for their future in 2024, and then vice versa for the Democrats? How important is it for them to either, at the very least, maintain their current position in the state of Michigan and even nationally, but even more importantly for them, not give up any of that position to the Republican Party that supports Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think, Tyler, the next election is always the most important one. And that's, it gets back to the fundamental goal of a political party, right? Which is to win and then maintain control of governmental power. And because that's the only way that a political party and its candidates who turn into elected public officials can implement the policy alternatives that they prefer, right? So Democrats want to win in November so that they can keep hold of power in Washington, D.C. Republicans want to win in November to keep control of the Michigan legislature, right? And so it's always about the next election and therefore about the next governing period.
We're joined by Dave Duglio, professor of political science at Oakland University and also the director of its Center for Civic Engagement, joining us on the Megacast on this edition of the program. And so these Trump-backed candidates have been endorsed by the Republican Party. They're presumably going to get those nominations should something not go very wrong in the next coming months. But then we think about the analysis of the electorate in the state of Michigan and really nationally as well, because for the Republicans, the benefit of these elections occurring in 2022 in the summer for the primaries and in November for the general election is we're almost 3 years removed from January 6th. It's been a long time since that harrowing day and that harrowing incident has been fresh in our minds. It's given time, and time has started to heal parts of those wounds in some cases. On the other hand, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years is not a very long time. It's not a very long time politically either, and that's still very much front of mind, especially because Donald Trump's not in office. But him and his politics are still very much defining the Republican Party. How much of a factor do you believe that the results of the 2020 election, but more importantly, the incident on January 6th that occurred in the wake of the 2020 election may have an impact on the Republican Party's viability in these Michigan elections and even nationally in other elections?
Well, I think in terms of January 6th, you see the U.S. House of Representatives special committee that's investigating January 6th continue to do its work. And I would imagine that that's going to be timed up quite nicely with the fall elections. That's the prerogative of the Democrats, right? That they're in control of the U.S. House. Nancy Pelosi is Speaker. She can time that out just perfectly for them. So I think you'll see Democrats focus on that. I think Republicans like Mr. DePerno and Ms. Caramo will talk about 2020. I think there are other Republicans who want to move on and talk about anything but 2020. I think that the issue of relitigating the presidential election from a couple of years ago plays pretty well with some parts of the Republican base. Other parts it doesn't. And I don't have any data for you, but my hunch is that it doesn't play very well with voters that Republicans need to win statewide in Michigan. Independent voters, moderate voters, persuadable voters, whatever we want to call them. Those folks are looking forward, not backwards.
And so with that being the case, you look at the moderates, you look at the independents that maybe leaned Republican, certainly the independents that maybe leaned Republican in previous elections or tend to be more conservative politically. And you look at the moderates who are Republicans, who are more conservative and are not Trump Republicans necessarily. Do the Democrats have a viable potential of picking up those votes in these upcoming elections? Because as much as we talk about the moderate Republicans being averse to voting for Trump-backed candidates or candidates that have Trump-related politics in their arsenal, how reluctant or unreluctant are they going to be to vote for Democrats that may also be up for these positions in this election? And being that they're in that middle ground, are they more likely to go with their Republican candidates because of the conservative politics and take that risk, or do the Democrats have a viable chance? And how do they strategize for that to try to pick up those voters? Because those voters presumably will be the difference in this election.
Well, I think I would say two things about that. One, we've got some historical data to fall back on, right? Where in 2016, in a place like Oakland County, you had a number of folks vote for Trump. Whether that's because they liked Trump or didn't like Hillary Clinton is not the point, right? They cast their ballot for Trump. And then in 2018, they either changed and voted for candidates like Gretchen Whitmer, Secretary of State Benson, Attorney General Nessel, right? They voted for those candidates, or they didn't show up, right? So that's the real sort of trick in midterm elections is the surge and decline from presidential to midterm year turnout. So right, Democrats can get those persuadable voters. So can Republicans, but they need to come at those folks with the right message, with one that resonates with them, one that is convincing, one that speaks to issues that they care about. And the other factor is, again, turnout, right? And right now, many Republicans are energized, and I think I'd be hard pressed to say that Democrats are at an advantage in terms of enthusiasm for 2022. I think Republicans have an advantage there, whether or not they will come out and cast votes for candidates like Mr. DePerno and Ms. Caramo. Maybe they show up and vote for the gubernatorial candidate and skip the rest of the ballot, right? Those kinds of decisions are possible.
We're joined by Dave Duglio, Director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, as well as a Professor of Political Science at Oakland University. More information on their website, oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for more information. Also making national headlines in the state of Michigan from our state politics recently. Michigan Senator Mallory McMorrow, who is a Democrat, made national headlines in her rebuttal to being labeled a groomer, being labeled a pedophilia sympathizer by Michigan State Senator Alana Tice, who is a Republican. What were your initial thoughts about Senator McMorrow's response and the political implications that situation has, particularly because of the passionate response of Senator McMorrow? How does that then politically impact both the Republican Party in the state of Michigan, but also the Democratic race, having someone now on a national stage like Senator McMorrow on a topic that's continued to be of discussion in many different political arenas nationally and statewide?
Well, I think Senator McMorrow sort of threw down the gauntlet, right? She did, and just in her terms, right? She'd had enough, and I think that's fair, right? She was criticized and she shot back. That's sort of what you do in politics, and I think we've seen a couple results already. One is that, as you mentioned, she got national attention. She got a phone call from President Biden, and she raised a ton of money from it, and that's positive outcomes for her. I think that in terms of the parties and looking ahead to what it means for the 22 campaign and for Election Day, right? It feeds the base politics mode that we're in, right? Where the Republicans are going to take away what they want to from it. Democrats are going to take away what they want to from it, and dig in more to support their side, and they're going to do what they can to fire up their base, and on both sides, this does that.
Yeah, I think for the Republicans that in the state Senate, particularly Senator Tice, it's sort of a retreat and rethink and then come back on the attack from a different angle, considering they got, frankly, body slammed by Senator McMorrow in response to that. And for the Democrats, it's put the pedal to the metal in that battle and really lean into that. I think that's going to be playing a significant factor going forward, especially as we approach primary season. And for the Democrats, not only are they focused on, of course, getting their candidates elected and putting their best foot forward, but also trying to play as much prevent against the Trump Republican candidates for those key offices, particularly Christina Caramo for Secretary of State and DePerno for the Attorney General's position. We're just joined by Dave Duglio from Oakland University. He is a political science professor over there, as well as their director for the Center for civic engagement. And we want to give you a couple minutes before we say goodbye to talk about upcoming events and discussions at the Center for Civic Engagement so people can continue to get politically involved, but have important conversations about these critical issues in a forum that is open, that is inviting, and as is in the name, civil.
Yeah, we're already looking ahead to next year, Tyler, and thinking about ways we can be a convener of conversations for issues of public importance, not just for Oakland County, but Southeast Michigan and Michigan as a whole. We're not quite ready to let the cat out of the bag on something that's going to come up in May, but I hope your viewers will watch out in the next week or so for an announcement I think that they will find very interesting and engaging, and hopefully we can come back and talk to you about it.
Well, Dave, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good to talk to you.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Megacast. Well, today's edition of the Megacast. We're not quite through the week just yet. It's only Wednesday. It's only Wednesday, folks. That's going to do it for this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. You can learn more about the program and keep up to date on all of our interviews and full episodes if you missed any of our program today at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where we also have links to information on all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyMy. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's program. Singer-songwriter Michaela Proulx, Jenna Pulley, also joined us on the program today, Ryan Hertz from Lighthouse of Michigan, Dave Duglio from Oakland University, and Patrick Wells O'Brien from Gift of Life, Michigan. Again, all of these interviews on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. We highly encourage you also to go to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links right at the top of the page to information on COVID-19. It's updated on the daily by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at the federal level, at the state level from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and locally in Oakland County, where we originate our broadcast and broadcast the Oakland County Megacast from the Oakland County Health Division. You can also, on our coronavirus page, find our top stories making headlines all across the Great Lakes state each and every day from various journalistic outlets here in Michigan. You can click on the articles, click on the thumbnail picture that's just to the left of them on our coronavirus page. It'll take you directly to those pages, all these different news outlets, newspapers, TV news, and others. And if you have the means to do so for these newspapers, especially these other publications, we highly encourage you to subscribe to them and support local journalism all across the Great Lakes state. Big thank you to our crew as well. Our technical director, Calvin Brown, with me for the full Megacast each and every day for 2 hours here in our studio. Our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, at the office of My Michigan TV. The king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, helping the guests and us get prepared for these informative conversations each and every day. And Maddie Mustian helping us on and off the air before and after each of these programs. On My Michigan TV, up next, it is Steve Lado live from noon to 1, followed by Larry and Maddie live 1 to 2. We'll return tomorrow morning with more